Hello there. Welcome, new client or potential new client. So nice to. No, I don't actually see you. You know that. No, just kidding. Hi. It's me, your therapist or probable therapist. Um, so this video is for informed consent. There's a bunch of stuff that you need to know before therapy, and you sign like a little paper about it, but it's actually really important stuff. And I know most people don't read those little papers. Um, and like this isn't personal to you, so you really don't need me to say this speech to you specifically. Um, so here it is now, and this will like save us a lot of time in our session. Okay. So, um, yeah, whether you're new to therapy or not, if you're not new, hopefully you know, and if you are new, this is like really important. Um, Therapy is confidential. It's like the most important thing. Um, Everything that you say in our sessions is confidential with like a few exceptions. Um, I am a mandated reporter. So if you tell me anything about child abuse or neglect or exploitation of someone who's like a vulnerable person who's still vulnerable, so that's like an elderly person or a person with a disability or a child who's still a child, I have to report that stuff to like make sure that people can get safe and stay safe. If you're like, oh, this happened to me, I was a kid, I'm not a kid anymore, I'm not going to report that. That's not reportable. If you're like, oh, this happened to my kid or a kid that I know, it was a long time ago, but it did happen and they're still a kid, like I still have to report that. So you're in charge of what you report. I'm not going to make any reports without talking to you about it. I'm not out to surprise people. I don't want to do it, but I'll make the report if I have to, obviously. Um, but hopefully we can make that together if that comes up. We could do it in session. Go on the website. Hopefully easily peasily. Anyway, that's a law, and you're in charge of what you tell me. I also have to like tell someone if I really think that you're gonna like just leave and like harm yourself seriously. If we can make an agreement on how you can leave the session and stay alive and you can agree to that, like that's hunky dory. And if you're like, nope, I'm gonna leave this session and like go off myself, like, nope, can't let that happen. Also can't let you just be like, oh, I'm gonna murder someone. And I'm just like, cool, no. If I really, really think that you're about to harm yourself or somebody else, I have to do something about it. There is so much room between I'm having suicidal thoughts and we got to get you hospitalized, blah, 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 911. No, I don't want to do that. Lots of space in the middle here. We're going to do what we need to do to keep you safe. So if you need to go to the hospital, then that's what you need to do. But it's not my first option at all. I want to do lots of safety planning and like making sure that we can figure out how to keep you safe so that you don't have to go to the hospital. I don't want that. I don't want the cops involved. I'm sure you don't either. Let's avoid that. Yeah. So other than that stuff, um, I can't verify other than that stuff that I even know you. If somebody's like, hey, do you call, do you know, work with so and so? Like, I can't even be yes or no unless you've signed a release of information. But if you have signed a release of information, I'll communicate with whoever you want. Your doctor, your lawyer, your friend, your family member, your boss, HR happens a lot. Your school, your past therapist, your future therapist, like whatever. I'll do any of that stuff that you want me to, as long as you give me permission, but I'm not talking to anybody without permission. If I see you out in the world, no, I don't. I'm gonna pretend like I don't see you unless you approach me. I'm fine with us pretending like we don't know each other. Um, and if you want to say hi, then I will say hi. But otherwise, I don't know you. That's a HIPAA thing. So to that point on like emergency stuff, I'm giving you now we're soon in the paperwork you signed, and I can send you more stuff. Emergency contact numbers. So you want those saved in your phone because I'm not your emergency contact person. I don't have like a work phone. You've been communicating with me by email. That's the best way to do that with me. I don't want to talk on the phone. I don't like it. I don't have a work phone. I don't want a work phone. Sorry. But I will help you figure out who and where and what to do if you do have an emergency. I'm just not it in the moment. Um, I don't look at my work email if I'm not working. That's like a boundaries issue for me. So, again, I'm not gonna be there for you in a pinch. The flip side of that is that if you have something that happens and you want me to know about it between sessions, like you can email me whenever. You know, if you're sick and you're like, oh, it's the middle of the night on Sunday night, I don't care. I won't see it. I won't see your message until I'm back at work. But if you're like, I know I'm not going to be up for reaching out, during the daytime, I'm going to be tired or whatever. Yeah, send it in the night. I don't care. I'll see it when I'm working next. You can also, some people are like, hey, next session, I want to make sure that we blah, blah, blah. And you can do that if you want me to at least try to bring something up, whether the you that comes to session will actually want to do that. Like, we'll see. But I'm happy to try to help you out with that. Mm, mm, mm. Okay, so email. So we are human people. I'm also a human person. It's true. So we're both gonna have to cancel sometimes. That's just part of life. We want to try to keep it to a minimum. We want to show up if we've agreed to show up as much as we can. But hopefully, we're only canceling. Either of us are only canceling if we really need to. And that's life. Um, I will try as much as I can to give you 24 hours heads up, and I ask that you do the same. We have a 24-hour cancellation policy. So that means that if you cancel with less than 24 hours notice, or you just like don't show up to a scheduled session, um, that means that the office policy is $150 fee. That's the out-of-pocket price for a session. Like, if people pay cash, that's kind of the, like, standard price. So that's a pretty standard therapy move is, like, you cancel, you pay the price for an out-of-pocket session anyway, just so that we can get compensated for our time. But but but, um, you know, I I'm a social worker. I think about how systems affect you. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. Um, but basically, I don't want to charge you a fee if it's going to cause you issues. If you're like, oh, my therapy bill is getting too big, I can't pay that late fee, and now I can't pay my other bills. Like, no, we don't want that for you. So, whatever's going on, if something happens and you know it would incur a fee, I'm gonna ask you basically, like, is that affordable for you? And if it's not, just tell me. Like, I'm not here to put you in the financial red or whatever that saying is. Um, yeah. So standard fees 150. I can charge you like a lower fee or I can just waive it. Um, just use the honor system, be honest. Mm, mm, mm. If you are a can care client, you don't have a fee anyway. I can't charge you vehicles. It's good. But regardless of who you are, we want to be like courteous to each other. And we have a time deadline too. And so the time window, what's the clock? The time window is 15 minutes. So if either of us are 15 minutes late, that's like too much late. I'm not great with time. That's one of my hardest things. So I do my best to be on time, and I do run late uh, on on more than seldom occasions. So I'm doing my best to be respectful, and I ask that you do too. but 15 minutes is the window for both of us. So if I'm 16 minutes late, that's too late. You shouldn't be waiting that long for me. Go find something else to do, but like call the office first because like maybe something's weird. Um, if you're more than 15 minutes late, I'm not gonna wait for you. I'm out. And you would incur a fee. It's not gonna cause you problems. Um, if you're on telehealth, um, there's some instructions around like if I'm, 8 to 10 minutes late, especially if you don't see me online. Um, if I'm like busy, I don't know if it tells you that or not, but especially if I'm not online and it's like 10 minutes after, send me an email just to make sure there's no tech issues. Maybe I've like had an internet problem that happens sometimes, which I don't know. Hopefully I'd see an email. Anyway, um, yeah, check in after a certain time period, and I'll probably check in with you if I don't see you after a certain time period. Um, but ultimately, if you miss a session, it is your responsibility to reach back out to me and all of that. So we're both just gonna try to be courteous and we're gonna use the honor system and be honest about things. And we're gonna talk about it if we have issues with this kind of stuff. Either of us can switch to telehealth at any time for any reason. If I was doing that, it was probably because I'm sick but functioning and I just don't want to get you sick, or the weather's bad. If the weather's yucky and we're supposed to meet in person, check your email before you leave your house because I might be working from home, especially if you're like in Lawrence. I'm like, I'm not driving to Lawrence with this ice or whatever. That'll happen from time to time. So just check your email before you leave if you're not sure. If I have to cancel, I also might have the office reach out to you on my behalf. They might call you, they might text you. You can text them. That's another thing. You can always call or text the office, especially if you're like, I don't have access to email or, I'm in a hurry and so I need to make a phone call and not type on my thing. I get that. If you leave a message with the office instead of emailing me, they're gonna email me and say, "Hey, so and so left a message for you." Like, that's fine, but just so you know, that's how that works. Okay. So that's a lot of stuff. Lots of words so far. So maybe like take a second. Um, if you haven't, maybe grab a piece of paper and write or your phone. Your phone's fine. Take note of any questions or concerns or comments you have on any of that stuff so that we can talk about it when we meet. Otherwise, maybe like take a breath, just let things kind of stew for a minute, and then we'll move on to the next section of this speech. Okay. Okay. So, next section is about me. Hello. So there's this section about me and then like a little like closing section. And then we're probably like halfway through this little video, I guess. You can probably see a time counter. I don't have to tell you, but that's my estimate at this point. Okay, so this is about me. Hello, I'm Brittany. You can call me Brittany or B or whatever you want. I really don't care. Um, so I am a queer person, trans person, a non-binary person, bisexual or pansexual, depends on how you define those terms, person. My pronouns are they, she. Honestly, he's fine. I like all the pronouns. Yeah. Um, this doesn't usually affect anything. If you didn't find those facts interesting about me, like that's okay. Doesn't usually come up that much more. Um, but those things are true. And if you want to ask me any questions about that stuff at any point, you can. So also me, I am neurodivergent. Um, my memory's not good. There's a bunch of stuff that goes into all that. I tell you this to say if I'm not making eye contact with you, it's because I'm thinking and not because I'm judging you. Looking all over the place while I'm making this video. It's just a realistic preview of what I'm like. Um, Notes. I take a lot of notes. You're not seeing me take notes while I'm talking because I don't have anything to be noting right now because I'm giving the speech. But when we're in session, I'm going to be taking a lot of notes. I'm going to be typing a lot. Um, that helps me process. It helps me stay grounded in what's happening in our session. It helps me just like keep track of what you're saying and like it hits in my brain in a different way. I don't know if you get what I'm saying with that or not. If you do, we're gonna get along great, and if not, like that's fine too. Um, Important to say, like, um, I'm over here focused on you. I'm not sending emails to other people. I'm not doing other stuff. Like I'm focused in our session and taking notes is part of how I keep that going. Um, Also, the notes that I take in session are like in a Word document that I keep for myself. And like we can use that if you're ever like, hey, when did such and such happen? Like I can maybe do a little search and find out. Um, but those notes are like way more detailed than the notes that I put in your file. So we call what goes into your file to be minimum necessary information. So that means that like there's probably five or so sentences worth of stuff that go into your actual note each session. And it's like today's session focused on blah 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 blah. So and so explored this and identified that and like engaged in blah blah blah. Like I'm not putting your personal details in your chart note as much as possible because like your insurance company reads that kinds of stuff. And so I'm not putting your personal business details in your chart note. It is minimum necessary information, and that's like an ethical obligation that I have and like one that I don't mind. So notes that I take in session for me, very detailed. Notes that go in your chart, super vague. Um, and if you're ever like, what are you typing over there? What's going on? Lots of people are curious. I get that. This is about you, and like, I'm not over here keeping secrets, writing stuff about you that you can't know. So you're always welcome to ask me about that. Some people want me to send them my notes that I take in session every session, or just if we have like a particularly revealing session of whatever type. I'm happy to do any of that. If you want that to be like a regular thing, just tell me. Because I'm not over here trying to be the gatekeeper of information about you. Like I want you to have access to it if you want it. Mhm. Um, yes. Oh yeah, I'm a human person. So I I'm a human person like you. So along the vein of like being neurodivergent, like I'm gonna make mistakes and forget things and be like, "Oh, did we talk about this?" And like that's just how I operate. I'm not forgetting things because I don't care about you. Um, if I forget things, if I make mistakes, if I have a misconception, if you disagree with me, like just let me know. Let's talk about that. Um, yeah, that's important. So, therapists come in different varieties, and I am the social work variety. So, I'm a licensed specialist clinical social worker in Kansas and a licensed clinical social worker in Missouri, LSCSW, LCSW. I'm also clinically certified trauma professional, CCTP. That's pretty cool, I guess. Um, I have a certificate in working with adult children of emotionally immature parents from Dr. Lindsay Gibson, if you're familiar with her book. I did a training program with her. So those are some qualifications. Um, so basically, social work. I'm the social work type of therapist, and that means that I see you as a person in your environment, right? So you didn't just like fall out of the sky yesterday. You come with context. Your childhood, your friends and family, your health, your job, your school, whatever. Living in Missouri, Kansas, the Midwest, the United States. Oh, geez, Earth, right? All of this stuff is your environment. And so all of those things affect your well being and affect who you are. And so, like, all those things are fair game in therapy. We'll probably talk about all those things at different points, or we can. If you're not sure, it probably is still relevant to your well being. Um, Social work perspective is strengths based. So I'm not a super diagnosis focused therapist. We'll talk about diagnosis a little bit in the beginning just for like being responsible and keeping your insurance happy and stuff. But past that, it's probably about as important to me as it is to you, whatever that means to you. Um, we can have lots of conversations about how I feel about diagnoses, how you feel. Anyway, right now is not that time. Um, I am focused more on what's good about you, what's important to you, what are your strengths, what are your values, how did you get through a hard thing in the past, what is or who is in your life now that could help you through this hard time, what are you interested in? Those things are really important in therapy. And so, like, we're going to talk a lot more about that than, like, what's wrong with you? What are you doing wrong? I'm not focused on. Okay, pause for a breath. We're almost done. You're doing great, probably. Um, I'm going to take a breath and take a drink, and then I'll give you some closing on my philosophy in here. Okay, here we go. Okay, having client, having coffee with a new client. Okay, that's fine. Okay, closing remarks. So this is for you. This whole deal is for you. I'm here for you. This was your idea, right? Like I wasn't like, oh hey, so and so, like I was thinking that you would really benefit from working with me in therapy. Like, no, you reached out to me and or my organization. You reached out to someone and was like, oh, I think I want to do some therapy stuff. And I think that's real cool. I want this to feel like a good use of your time and resources. That's really important. Therapy works best if we can both show up as authentically as we feel comfortable to do so. So, like, you don't have to censor yourself. You can use whatever language you use out in the world. In our sessions, like, I don't care. I'm really not going to censor myself too much. Frankly, I have like good professional boundaries, but I'm also going to be like a human person, and yeah, that's a recipe for success in my experience. And if you're like, hey, I don't like this thing about how you show up, like, let's talk about that because I probably will like swear and stuff. If you're like, that makes me uncomfortable, then like I want to know that so that we can figure that out. Yeah. So therapy has some drawbacks. That is true. This is an informed consent discussion. And so the truth is like therapy can have some negative stuff to it. You might learn things about yourself or other people that are kind of like upsetting. You might see some things differently, see yourself or your loved ones differently. This might affect your relationships. Yeah, you just, new perspectives, new knowledge. It shakes things up. Therapy can be taxing. It can take a lot of energy, especially some of the more like specialized therapies that we might do can be especially taxing. Um, a lot of the time it's worth it, but we also need things to feel workable for you. So if you're like, oh my God, I'm so drained after every session, or like, oh, I'm really dreading going in like every time, like we don't want that for you. Like let's talk about that. Because like therapy needs to feel sustainable, right? You need to feel like you can handle it for the most part. It's like, ooh, this is kind of pushing me to the edges, maybe, but like not um, that's not good for you. So protect your energy. Um, we can talk more about what that even means if you're like, that seems made up. That's a real concept. Let's make sure that you're doing that. Make sure that you're getting lots of rest on therapy days. If you're someone who like uses cannabis and stuff like that, like maybe don't on therapy days, um, especially afterwards. Can kind of affect like your long-term memory type stuff. So probably not on a day that we meet. Um, which like side note, like we can talk about that kind of stuff. Um, I work from a harm reduction standpoint, so like let's be real about what you do in your own time, and talk about how we can like make sure that you're doing whatever you do safely and that sets you up for success with your mental health and like your well-being. Because it doesn't do any good if we don't know what you're up to. Yeah, let me know if therapy's causing you problems in any way. I'm not like a special genius. No, I'm not. It's fun to say specifically. Um, but it's true. So, you're the expert on you. If you have disagreements, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you're like, why are we doing this? Why do you ask me these questions? This shit seems corny. Like, this is like therapy on a TV show. Like, what is going on? Um, Reasonable questions. I get why you might ask any of those types of questions at any point. Um, and I probably might have thought a lot of this stuff was like corny therapy bullshit at one point in my life too, honestly. So I get it if any part of you has any thoughts like that, questions, concerns. I want to talk about that stuff. I love to answer why questions because I also will ask a lot of why questions. I'll ask you, I ask why in my regular life. Um, yeah, I want to talk about that stuff. So if you're sitting there being like, "Oh, this seems like bullshit," please say, "Hey, this seems like bullshit," and I want to talk about that with you. Um, we're gonna make some goals, so we'll do that in our first three sessions probably. And I'm not gonna make you do like smart goals or anything, but it's like, where do you want to be in a couple months? How will you know if this is working? What are you trying to get out of this deal? Like, why are you here? You know? Um, so we'll set that up. It doesn't need to be like measurable or whatever. But if you like a measurable goal, we can do that. Um, we'll check back in on your goals every quarter, more or less. And you don't have to wait until goals day if you're like, hey, something's not working here, or I need to switch this up, or whatever. Um, yeah, bring that stuff up, please, 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 as soon as it comes to your brain. If you want to switch things up, let me know. If you're like, hey, it's not a good time for me to be in therapy, actually, that's okay. I get that. And best practice would be for you to let me know, and we'll have like a closure session to like wrap things up. That's good for both of us. Yes. Um, if you're like, hey, like I need to put a pause on things, like I'm into this, but I just need to take a break, like we can have that conversation too. Um, if you're like, you know what? Therapy, yes. This gig isn't it for me. That's okay. You need to feel like you're a good fit with your therapist, and not everybody is for everybody. And so if you're like, this isn't my vibe, like, let me know, and I will try to help you find somebody who's a better fit for you for whatever reason. Um, my top interest is your well-being, and so, like, you're the expert on what that means for you, and, I'll always do a closure session with you or a transfer session, like pro bono for free if you're like, I just don't want to pay for this right now. Um, yeah, closure is really important, as much as we can. And it's also like part of like what we practice in therapy is like good communication and talking to people about uncomfortable things. And so being like, hey, this isn't working out for me is actually like usually a really big accomplishment for people because you're like speaking up for your needs. Hooray. We love that for you. So, anyway, in summary, you are not broken. I'm not here to like fix you. Sorry if you can hear those sirens. Ah, we're almost done. Um, yeah, my job is to help you understand yourself better and to try to help you create the conditions necessary to like enact change within yourself. That's really all I can do. Um, I'm not here to like push you a direction that you don't want to go. I'm not here to push anything. Like I'm here to support you, um, and help point you in the direction that you want to go. So that's that. Thanks for watching this video. Thanks for working with me. Um, I'll meet you soon, I guess. Yeah, looking forward to working with you. Um, Feel free again to write down any questions on a paper or your phone, and bring them in if you have questions or concerns or comments or whatever that you want to discuss. And I'll email you also a hard copy of this in addition to the one that you already signed. But like this is actually important stuff, so I just super want you to be clear. Okay, thanks. Bye.